Saltburn is directed by Emerald Fennell, who directed Promising Young Woman, which was a film that, despite my enjoyment in the cinema while watching it, I definitely didn't really carry much out of the experience. I definitely didn't feel as if she did enough as a filmmaker to really bring much longevity. There's definitely a lot of interesting ideas and a lot of important social commentary being put at play here. A lot of the film definitely gives itself to you at surface level, which I suppose there's nothing wrong with, given what we were given at surface level wasn't too bad. It's just that the film didn't really have much longevity. However, that is a very different case for Saltburn, which is a film that even its shot composition, visuals, the color palette of this film feel very evocative, definitely linger with you after your theatrical experience. But because all of the shots here feel so purposeful and meaningful in terms of what they are trying to say or communicate about the film's narrative, the characters, and the overarching message of this film. The theme of this film being obsession and control. Just these themes feeling very prevalent throughout the film's runtime, taking the film in very dark and disturbing turns. And that's one of the things that really kept me going through this experience. Just this very cynical and underlying darkness of the film. There really was an impending sense of doom that really did help my investment in the film. It felt as if the film was just like this continuous slow descent into this rabbit hole, as if, eventually you get so far deep into the rabbit hole that there's no real exit or real way of getting out. And really, that inescapability is communicated so well throughout the final act of this film. But we'll get into the problems that I have with the final act later on. I feel as if this film really does act as an opposing force against Promising Young Woman's more razor-sharp and straight-to-the-point narrative. This is a film that wants you to adjust to this very different world of Saltburn. And I think for the most part, they do a really good job at selling us, with this, very luxurious, fun, nostalgic environment, yet there's obviously something darker at play here. And I think the way the film communicated that was so effective, not only visually, not only through the expert performances, but also through the music. The music takes a very sort of classical approach with its use of strings, which feel daunting, unsettling. There's this very creepy undertone that the film has until it becomes pretty much just the entire film's personality. And it really does help you feel uneasy. This film wouldn't be the same without its incredible score. Granted, I do feel as if the score can be overused at times and can feel slightly insufferable. It definitely at times feels as if the film is trying to tell you how to feel through its score, because I just feel like the film would be so much more evocative of these emotions if we were given an opportunity to just have a moment of silence, a moment where the editing wasn't so extreme that we could just have a moment with Barry Keoghan's character that isn't so forced in terms of the editing and in terms of the music composition. And that's kind of one of my problems with the film, is that the film, despite the fact that it lures you into this atmosphere, there are times where I just couldn't really seep myself into this atmosphere and into this world, because Emerald is very concerned with how much the editing and style has at play here. And at times, I really do feel like for a film that has so much substance, that has so much potential to be a thought-provoking thriller, it definitely feels as if the style drowns out the substance a lot of the time. There's substance there, but you really have to dig deeper and deeper if you want to see it, because a lot of this film is style. And there's nothing really wrong with that, I suppose, until, it affects the pacing and the narrative of the film, which in itself is kind of a mess. And it's definitely not a bad mess. It just is a mess. It definitely does have moments of incoherency, and it definitely has moments where I just felt completely uninvested in the experience. In fact, the entire climax of this film is just an absolute tonal mess. It is very confused, and it feels as if the film, by its ending, didn't really have much momentum. There was a strong momentum in the beginning of the film, but leading to the climax, I definitely felt as if it slowly lost itself as it progressed. And maybe that's not entirely a bad thing, given the first two acts were quite strong in momentum, but the third act was so long, so much of a slog, so boring that I just couldn't feel any more invested in this world. And I felt as if there was so much of a perfect opportunity, when it came to the break between the second and third act. I felt as if there could have been so much of a better turn in the narrative here. Yet the film chooses to elongate itself so excruciatingly, you're kind of wondering when the film is going to end. Or maybe that's just my experience. But granted, I definitely feel as if most of the film definitely felt as if I was lost within this world. And let me just say, the most uninvesting nail in the coffin moment of this film was probably its climactic point, its ending. Both Promising Young Woman and Saltburn have this issue where the climax feels so disjointed from the overall experience. It's as if the film sells you on this illusion and this very strange environment, but then the ending of this film feels so tonally out there and out of the blue that it just feels disjointed from the overall experience. Not to mention, the film definitely, the ending definitely does have the cynicism and the very bleak core, but it feels so lame in terms of it just feels so lame because so much of this film is very spacey, very beautiful, and very mysterious, that the ending of this film being the revelation as to what has been happening all this time throughout this narrative, it feels so lame and so one-dimensional, particularly in dialogue, particularly in the music, and there's overall just this very cliche cheesiness to it all. It just felt so derivative. And that's the thing, is that is so anti what this film is. This film is so not derivative. It feels so original in its atmosphere and core narrative. It felt as if the film took the mystery and the ambiguity of Barry Keoghan's character and completely ruined it. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely a disappointing factor of the film. Granted, we have a very strong and competent film preceding it. And I just feel as if the issues that I have mentioned definitely do suffocate the film in terms of, holding it back from being anything, greater than what it is. But it definitely feels like such a vast and incredible improvement. I definitely feel as if I'm going to be thinking about the experience that I've had with this film, what the film is trying to communicate thematically, and the composition, the shots of this film. My God! It is a film that, yes, definitely has a lot to fix in terms of its narrative. It definitely does feel a bit like a mess tonally, and it definitely does have a lot to fix here in terms of the characters having much more of a natural progression. But so much of this film really does suck you into its very sinister and very atmospheric narrative. So yeah, with all that said, I'm going to give Saltburn a 7 out of 10. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to know your opinions on the film down below in the comments. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you hated it. Let me know if you're somewhere in the middle. Overall, I want to hear about what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.